Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Coast to Coast Traders podcast. I'm Flex and Joe.
And I'm Robbie.
How you doing, Robbie? Welcome back.
Thanks, man. It's good to see you. Had a great week. How about yourself?
Good to see you too, buddy. I had a pretty good week. It was, little ups and downs or whatever. Friday ended, with a little down there, but it was an overall good week. Can't complain.
Yeah, free for all Friday, or for me, a little bit of a flip flop Friday. Actually, two really crazy Fridays back to back. But man, this current Friday to me was brutal.
Yeah, yeah, it was, man. Like, I was obviously, and maybe let's just get right into it. We'll switch over and kind of look at the charts. So, as you guys can see, like looking at ES, like this was just a nasty chop day. And like zooming out a little bit, it kind of expected after we had such a big move on Thursday, right? Going into a 3-day holiday weekend. I think probably a lot of us were maybe just a little bit overexcited by that big day and just thinking, as we're knocking on the door of the all-time high, that maybe we would just blow the top off going into the holiday weekend, but didn't happen.
That was my bias too. Yeah. And maybe in hindsight should have expected that today or Friday could have been a pretty big chop day with that in consideration as big market makers consider, reshuffling their positions.
For sure. And, it's funny because we were talking about it. There's been a few different Fridays, or even like the previous Friday, the 7th, it was a big down day, right? And then we even gapped down and then we resurged back up.
Yeah.
And then the prior Friday, same thing. Big down day, gap down day, and then recovered. So it was interesting that, in this House of Stacks, another trader had commented about like just how with the Trump administration and tariffs and the uncertainty of everything, people didn't want to hold their positions long over the long weekends, especially the long weekend, right? And my response was like, I totally get that. I'm not disagreeing. The charts don't lie. That's what they're saying. I said, but sooner or later, that's going to burn somebody. Like they're going to think, hey, I want to be short over the weekend, or hey, I don't want to hold this. And then we're going to get a gap up weekend. So,
yeah.
And who knows? I mean, anything could happen overnight between now and even Tuesday morning, right? President's Day. Who knows what Trump will say, right?
Yeah, unreal. Like, there's going to be more surprise tweets and news bombs coming out left and right. He's talking with Russia and China about reducing military spending. More tariffs, I think, have been unilaterally imposed on other countries. So basically, it's tit for tat at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we had that big thing with Canada and Mexico last week, and there was some capitulation, but we're gonna have to see who starts caving and either lifting tariffs or lowering tariffs, and then see if we ease up ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely going to be something to keep an eye out for, right? So, you want to talk about any of your trades on Friday first?
Yeah, there's really only two to talk about that are like notable in my opinion, because right off the bat, I was very bullish in the morning, because we had a great Thursday. And just looking at the chart overnight, I had seen that we were actually coming back over a former demand zone now, or former supply now turning into demand. And even though we were like just hovering like at and around VWAP and stuff, just depending on what that's looking like overnight, I don't give the hugest amount of weight to VWAP if it's like in consolidation. And if I remember correctly, there was also news at 8:30, right?
Correct. Yeah, there was. It was consumer sentiment, I think, of some kind.
Yeah, and so looking at the price action from that, it was quite choppy there too, which should have kind of been a little bit of a sign for me. And we were in the upper wicks, or we were trading in the upper wick of like the 5-minute rejection from VWAP after that. And so like I can see that we're holding that area, the body of the 5-minute candle on NQ. And if, based on like what I was seeing there, I really wanted to go long off the open, but my rules usually dictate that I will not trade the exact moment of the bell. Like I don't preclude myself from trading afterward. I usually want to wait for like at least a 1 minute candle to close before I take a position.
Yeah, let's go down to that 1 minute chart and let's see what that really looked like.
Yeah, it was so nasty, dude. It was really bad.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was.
So yeah, like I mean, you know, we've been chopping. We're like what in like a 30. It was really like a 20 to 30 point range, depending on like where you're gonna draw from. Like if it's just like the 1 minute wick low to wick high, like let's see, 904 to 912. That's like barely 24 points.
Yeah.
So price action was really thin there, but like you can see we were still just in that range, but I did want to go long. But again, for my rules, you know, it just didn't allow me to do that, even though I guess I you know, I don't know. I wouldn't want to break my rules in that regard. Like, you know, I'm not to say that I'm not never breaking my rules. Because I did that a couple of times last week. Obviously, it wasn't so great, but I'm always striving to restrain myself because the more restraint you have, the better probability you have of success, because our rules are dictating that we have certain things in alignment that allow us to take more probable trades. So I know that if my directional analysis is correct, then I can always pay higher for better quality and have a more probable setup.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my, I wasn't really planning to talk about that, but I'll just give like a brief commentary about it. Is one of my recent setups has been like a momentum type of trade with the 1 minute, and then trading on either the immediate next candle or this like the first or second candle right afterward for continuation. But we did not get that at all on Friday. And so I actually attempted to do that on the first account, but it, you know, I was trying one thing. I was trying the momentum, that didn't work. And then I was trying like a previous day level with /VWAP on the lower end, and that took me out. And so that was right there. That was already 2 strikes on one of my accounts. And so, you know, for my rules, I risked 10 points per trade, 20 points max in the day. So that's, you know, close that one out, off onto the next one. And so like I'm trying to be more patient. I switched to the next account and we're pushing back under VWAP. It's still, you know, disgustingly choppy. And I do take a short around the previous day level with VWAP, and I get 15 points short. And I'm getting ready to take another one again. And I do, and it fails. And I'm thinking to myself, and I actually accidentally pasted that screenshot to you, saying, I think I just got swept. But I meant to post that in my trade journal.
Yeah, I remember.
And then you're like, yeah, I think so too. And yeah, sure enough, that's when price started to pull through. So yeah, I really got beat up around that new rally, going, you know, up and down, like, because I was really wanting that breakout and like the full trend day to go.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I put a timeout so I can get ready to go to work, and then outside of that, I was more patient, but I was not taking a trade until it was after 11:40, like 11:45-ish, I think.
Okay.
Or close to then. And I was saying in Stacks chat that like I want to see a 5-minute close above the opening range, because and that's, you know, one of my strategies is boxing the chop, and it was very clear that there was some weakness on the opening range high. But we'd also been bouncing off of VWAP in the middle of the opening range, which we call the belly button sometimes.
The belly button, that's right.
Yeah, and so, but I violated. Well, it wasn't like a rule per se, but like I violated my trade thesis. I didn't wait for that 5-minute candle to close above.
He violated himself. He violated himself, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I sure did. And then I went long though, but like I had actually also like suggested that we were seeing an M pattern. So why did I go long without having confirmation when I could have just gone short with the other probable trade setup, which was the weakness there? And had I done that, you know, risking to the opening range high, or just right above it, that would have been a really great trade short. For sure, I would have gotten my 15 points, which is what I typically want on my on one of my trades. But I mean, we got at least 30. So after that trade, I locked it up for the day, and I was grateful to still be green on that account by an okay amount to lock in another day for the payout. But it's just my bias for wanting the longer continuation trend approaching all-time highs. It really got the best of me, and so I need to identify or set up a system that's going to help me better identify trading rules for when there's significant chop. Like I need to say, okay, if we're still chopping like after this much time, do I even trade at all? Or obviously I can shift to a different strategy, but the chop days, like especially on Friday, it wasn't quite as simple as like just simply trading from the opening range high to the opening range low, because we were really all over the place. And we didn't even touch the opening range low again at all, even later in the day. But there was that, like, the first breach above, you could have taken it the first tap to go long, but like that wasn't even 15 points if you got the absolute best entry, like say from like 10:13 a.m. To like 10:15, and at that point, for sure, I wouldn't be using the 1 minute anymore. Usually, I'm only using the 1 minute chart within the first like 15-30 minutes of the day, and then after that, it's for sure the 2 minute chart. And then the only exception is if there's a really, really, really massive move, then I might switch to the 1 minute later in the day. But for sure, 10 and 2 is better after 10 a.m. for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I always enjoy.
What do you think about that? Like, what was your situation on Friday?
Oh, I was going to say, I mean, you can keep talking about your stuff, but I was going to say, I always enjoy hearing, like, your thought process and like what you saw on the chart and what you were looking for and all that, because although we're trading the same time, everybody, like Robbie and I are not on voice together. And there's sometimes where I'll be on voice or sometimes even leading the group and Robbie might not even be on at all. Like Robbie's just doing his own thing and he'll send me pictures of his trades or whatever. So it's always good just hearing how, somebody who's a skilled trader just looks at things differently. But in this case, at least, you saw things differently than I did a little bit, but you and I both had the same overall bias of, hey, we pushed, we consolidated overnight, we're going to push again,
Right. And one thing that I really love, Joe, is like when you're sharing trades with friends and stuff, and then like you both took the exact same trade. So it's like that whole Spider-Man meme where you're like both all pointing at each other. And that's always kind of a cool little fun ego boost because like, yeah, dude, we're all on the same page. We understand what's going on. And that's always pretty fun, but Friday, man.
Dude, says it's funny because there have legitimately been times, guys, where Robbie and I have been talking to each other and like he'll talk about a trade or whatever, like he'll just send it to me like, I'm in this trade, I don't know if this is gonna work out, I don't know if we get this continuation, et cetera, just the thoughts, right? And then like but we're in it and he accepts the risk and everything's great, and then it'll be like, bro, I'm in that same trade right now, and our entries will be 100%. Very close. Our thought process will be very close. And, we have learned a lot of the same trading techniques in the same room. So I guess that makes sense, but it's kind of funny how that works. Yeah. All right. So, bro, it's funny because like, not funny, but when you said something about, I think you got swept, I got swept here. So like off the open, I'll go down to like the 2 minute because I was on the 2. So off of the open, leading the group on voice, because I believe that this candle, and I would know better looking at like a 15-second chart, this candle actually had a wick down and then a surge up. So like when this candle wicked down and then kind of bounced down again, I took this candle long, and like I again, maybe it's a little bit of the bias, but what I saw personally was we had this this is the 8:30 news candle, right? So I was looking at this 8:30 news candle and I was like, okay, here's the, oops, that kind of got jacked up. here's the range of that 8:30 news candle. If you watch, like they tried to push down lower, they failed to break the low. We broke over the highs, and we were consolidating and trying to push off the highs, trying to get over VWAP. So here looking at it, everything like 10-minute CBC was long going into the open still. So I was like, okay, we have a long bias. So when I saw it like kind of double dip down here, I thought this was going to get the rip. I got my first scale, moved my stop over break even, trailed my stop up, and I got stopped out. And I was just kind of like, oh, well, that's a bummer. Like that came down pretty quick. I waited a little bit, and then it was on this freaking candle, dude. This candle did like one of these back and forths right here. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get in long on this. And I literally told the group, I'm going to get in long. And dude, I had like a super entry. This sucker went up. And then this sucker went right back down. And I was like, all right, well, low a day was risk. Like I'm out. So I just take this small tag because it was a good entry. And then I'm like, well, shit. And here, like, you're sitting there telling me, I think I just got swept out or whatever. And I'm thinking, yeah, fucking so did I, So
for sure.
So now I'm out, whatever. That was that one. And then I ended up like grabbing it or like re-grabbing it long, essentially like almost the exact same entry a second time. I sat through it, risking this low of day. It was just choppy back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And we finally surged over VWAP. And I just, a little bit of bias, but a little of like, hey, I see that they push down, but like they're also, looking at the 10-minute chart, like they had barely flipped the 10-minute candle into the EMAs for CBC short, but ES didn't flip and neither did VIX, right? And that kind of, I'll go over that basis loaded part of it in a second. But then from there, like it was crap. And then, oh dude, this loss was the one that like was the end of the day. Like on stream, I was like, okay, like I saw us like pushing up, and I don't know, man, like for whatever reason, I thought, hey, this is a good to go, like good idea. And nope.
Yeah, you and me both, brother.
Nope.
Right on that one.
Nope, it didn't. I'm gonna go down to the 2-minute again. Like, I don't know why. I was just really feeling like, hey, they try to come down again. They just swept under here. They're surging back up. We're sitting right on the EMAs. Hey, we're good to go.
Yeah.
It was literally like a 32 entry and an insta stop, and I was a little ticked because obviously you see how this played out, right? But this is where, I needed to, especially after having such a choppy range, I need to follow my own strategy, which is that bases loaded strategy. And so if you haven't, for anybody out there, if you haven't seen that YouTube video that I put together on it, essentially bases loaded is you have ES and NQ, there'll be CBC in agreement. So you would have, in this case, you'd want to have NQ long CBC, ES long CBC. So when you look at like when I took this loss, same thing here. I saw ES with a strong flip in the VWAP reclaim. And a lot of times ES VWAP is just a good sentiment, indicator overall. Like, okay, if ES is back over VWAP with strength, hey, man, we're going to start turning around. So I thought we were good because this one flipped. And then if you look too, the other part of it is that VIX would be the opposite. So you want VIX to be short when you want to go long. So, okay, VIX flipped short right here with strength all the way down to the low. NQ didn't flip, just barely didn't flip, hit the orb high. And then, man, this sucker just faded. Like, But when I got all three in alignment, because again, NQ was not in alignment here. When I got all three in alignment at 1240, NQ is CBC long, ES is CBC long, VIX fails to make a higher high here, knifes back down, goes back to CBC short. There's your confirmation to take it long. That's what I was waiting for. That's what I needed. And even then, even if like this area here would be a long, aggressive entry for NQ traders, waiting for this one was money.
Yeah, because then you have not only your bases loaded, but you actually have the 2-minute EMAs being respected.
Yep. And they were trying to reclaim and base back. They actually tried to base on orb low here on ES. It was still tough though. Like, it wasn't as smooth as everything else has been lately. And I think, what did that look like on the 2-minute? Look at that.
Because also, like, we were talking in pre-chat when we want to have multiple strategies, and like ideally for new traders, you want to stick to the one. And how certain strategies don't work on certain times. And today, or Friday, I should say, for example, was just a really big reminder that we not every strategy works in every environment. But we were talking about how like potentially if you were strictly trying to rely on like a 2-minute EMA setup on Friday, maybe you had you weren't able to identify that we were in chop, and so you were still trying to trade those EMAs anyway. But like you'd gotten your hand bit so many times in the day, and so finally later on in the day, we really did get that A+ setup, and maybe you didn't take it because you'd already hit your max risk or whatever, and you just didn't have the opportunity to take that trade. And then do you actually believe that's going to work this time because it already it failed so many times, right? Spooky. Yeah. A little serial killer in the background.
Little demon dog.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. But yeah, man, that was I'm glad to see that you're able to take that one long, even before any significant 2-minute dip, just based on your bases loaded, because that was probably the best trade of the day for the most part.
Yeah, and then like this one here, just like after we get that 10-minute flip and you get that pullback, like this is really I think what Maple's been beating the table on with that 2-minute EMA flip, right? So a lot of traders have been struggling for a long time with, okay, and I'll just go to 2 charts. I'll just put it on the NQ 10 and 2, right? A lot of traders just struggle, like, oh, okay, so like how do I know when to take it? Like how do I know what's a pullback and what's not? And like first off, like we said many times, you never know, right? But in this instance, right, when you're getting this, it looks like it's tweezer topping here. It looks like a high day sweep. If you're going to try to play that short, you got to be really Johnny on the spot with that entry, right?
For sure.
Because, it gives you 72 to a max of 44. You get almost 30 points there. So you could be able to lock in 20, but, it ends up not giving the continuation. In fact, it's a long side continuation. And that's where it happens. Like your 2-minute CBC flips back long right here at 1328. Closes back over that 2-minute 9. You get a little dip down. That's where you take it. And 55 even to the bottom of that candle, that's only 10 points risk. That's
yeah. And at that point of the day too, just looking left on the 2-minute, we didn't even retest the opening range high, but like you can just see the previous pivot was opening range from like 11:30 to 12 o'clock. And so just on the micro time frame, you can see obviously that was there. So yeah, it was well below the 2-minute EMAs, but you had the 2-minute 50, which is the 5-minute, depending on how choppy it is and stuff, but that was a 5-minute EMA tap. And then obviously you saw it was the 10-minute 9, right? Which is, and it never flipped CBC short. So right. That's a great setup too. So
really great setup there, because that as that saying goes, from failed moves come fast moves. And so the bears fail to flip the CBC. They're quick to jump out of their position and they become buyers as well, right? Because, the bears recognize, hey, I took this short trying to defend this high. This high gets swept. We try to defend it. They can't push it down. They're getting bought back up quick. And that's it. That's it. It's time to go.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's crazy because it looks like you get a big surge, but man, this was only 35 points. I mean, but this was 35 points.
Yeah. It just goes to show, like, depending on the perspective of your chart, where you were used to seeing more than 30 points on what appears to be, really, really strong price action there. And I don't want to say that 30 points only, because that's still great money. But like, when NQ is on a really strong rally, we're looking at 400, 1,000 points maybe on an insane day.
Oh yeah.
Which so yeah, in perspective, 30 points is a very small piece of that. But on a day like Friday, you better believe we should be taking what we can get.
Absolutely. And if you use that 2-minute entry strategy right here, and you let the 2-minute candle by candle flip stop you out and said, okay, it closed as a flip, I'm out, that was still a 30.5 point, scale, like right here. So that's just assuming the entry is, right here as we cross over the top of that wick, right? So even a little bit late. So if you're able to sneak a better entry, you could have got maybe a couple more points there. But again, tight range, it was tight.
Yeah, because there were some trades that I did take that were winners, but like I really wanted more than the 15 points,
Mm-hmm.
and that wasn't the day to do it. And so that's another thing I got to recognize too. Like, A, first recognize when there's chop, and then B, once I have identified that, just stick to the mindset of like, this is a base hit only day, not a home run.
Yep.
Setup kind of day. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens, man. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like in trading his zone. He just talks about like taking what the market can give you and paying yourself as the market allows, and it was just a grab your money and go type of day. But like,
yeah, for sure.
And if you're the type of trader, which I think a lot of traders would benefit from being the type of trader who waits until the orb is set, and you had waited for orb to set and you saw kind of what the range was or whatever, if you're trading on Top Step, perfect example of a great day to just lock up $200 on the account, count it as a day towards a payout, and just go about your business. It was Valentine's Day anyways, so fellas, hopefully you didn't drop the ball on that one, and you did something nice for your, or ladies, you just did something nice for your significant other,
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. So, all right, man, I think it's the price action for Friday, right? You got anything else to add?
For the price action, no. But I have an update on a trader that I've been talking to off and on, and I forget which episode it was that I first introduced this person anonymously.
Mm-hmm.
But they were
what are we gonna call them, dude? We need to have a name for this, what are we gonna call them?
Man.
Shh, we got
bag holder extraordinaire. You mean?
Yeah, that's maybe we just, I don't know. That sounds a little rough.
90 point dip.
Yeah.
Point man.
We'll call him BTFD, man. Buy the F and dip. He just
yeah.
I don't know, but all right. So the big dip bag holder trader guy.
Yeah. So for anybody who may not remember, they had been struggling with holding their losers far too long, and they had mentioned that they hold up to 90 points sometimes. And so obviously I was trying to work with them to implement either setting up brackets or sizing down and just honoring a specific like 15 to 20 point stop on the smaller size. So they're still risking maybe $200, $400 on the day. But they had shared with me that they were, I think on Thursday, that they were like basically $500 to $400 away from passing the combine, and they had been doing it 5 contracts at a time. And based on the last trade that they showed me, I saw that they were using micros. And although I didn't particularly agree with the entry they took, it was still within their risk of the 15 to 20 points. So it's like, okay, I'm not gonna complain about that because they're still at least showing really good improvement in that regard.
Yep.
And so come Friday, or maybe that was Wednesday. I don't know. Maybe I'm losing track of the days, but then the next day, they're like, they showed me this trade, bro, and they
look at him. He can barely stand to tell us. He can barely stand to tell us.
I'm about to beat my head against the monitor here, bro. And they share this trade, and maybe it was CPI, I forget, but they went 5 points, and then they averaged in another 5, and they held 90 points against them, and by some ridiculous miracle, they didn't blow the account. But I mean, I figured at that point, okay, it's done, right?
Yeah.
And then the next day, they show me the balance, or they send me an update, and they're like, I passed it. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, how did that even work? Like, I don't, because I don't know all the trades they took or what their win rate was prior. I can only imagine that maybe every other day prior to that 90 dip hold, they were maybe 100% win rate, because I don't think that the drawdown could have sustained that big of a loss. But
you think maybe he just like he blew it like right then and there, started another one past day 1, and then the next day just past day 2? That just dawned on me as a possibility.
Maybe I don't remember looking at the account number, but my perception was that it was the same combine.
Sure,
so that's the story I'm going with, and it sounds more dramatic too,
which is wild.
But somehow they must have YOLO'd and gone full size the next day and passed it. And I'm like, all right, I don't know how you did it, but I guess I'm glad for you, right?
Yeah.
But bro, you if you keep trading like this, you're gonna just blow the fund in two.
Yeah.
And so sure enough, next day they message me and they're thinking about quitting.
Raise your hand if you've been there, ladies and gentlemen. You YOLO pass an eval, and then in 24 hours, she gone. 100%. She gone.
And then rage buy another combine, right?
Oh yeah, several.
Yeah. So that they messaged me that bad news, and obviously they're pretty deflated, and I tried reaching out to them on voice, but they're busy. So okay, but I just wrote to them. I said, "Don't you fucking quit, and please, 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 stop with the top step combines. Just take a break and just get that Ninja paper account. I'm begging you,
Yeah, dude. So it's $20, right? $20 minimum deposit.
$20 deposit, $4 a month for data,
bro.
And it's like, we talked about it, right? It's an inexpensive tool, and he's got to work on the discipline, man. He's got to work through his problems, which is the segue to what I want to talk about next, which is how we tackle our trading problems. And there's 5 steps, or there's one step. The one step is just man the heck up. And in Home Alone, Macaulay Culkin is hiding under the bed, and he's thinking to himself, what am I doing hiding under the bed? And then he goes out the front door and he's like, I'm not afraid anymore. You hear that? I'm not afraid anymore. He's yelling at, screaming at the rooftops, basically. But then that guy that everybody thinks is a killer walks up and he freaks out, runs in the house.
The old man, neighbor with the shovel.
Yeah, that guy. And a lot of people can just cold turkey quit smoking, quit drinking, or whatever.
Yeah.
And face their problems that way. And that's a really difficult thing to do sometimes, but it's very applaudable. And if you're struggling with taking trades on your funded account and you're only trading the combines, that could work for you. But more methodically, there's 5 steps, I would say. So I got them written down here, and I'll breeze through them, and then I'll talk over them, and get some of your feedback on what you think about on those steps. But first one is what's the problem, and then potentially the root cause.
Yeah.
Second is changing your perspective.
Yeah.
Third is baby steps. Fourth, trading your emotions. And 5, accountability. And accountability is really huge, right?
Trading or training your emotions.
Training.
Okay, like with an N. Okay. Training your emotions. Yeah.
Yeah. So the problem root cause, it's like, okay, well, it could be fear. Well, if it's fear, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of losing money, being wrong, peer pressure? Are you oversizing, over trading? What are some root causes and problems that you come across, Joe, between traders that you talk to?
Bro, that one about being right, that's the craziest thing. It's like, dude, you don't have to be right to make money. And you don't have to be wrong to lose money. It's not about always being right or wrong, right? Like options highlight this more than anything else, because in options you really got to get the timing and the direction correct, right?
Yeah.
In terms of where you think the market's going to go. But even then, I probably struggle with a better way to articulate to you all, but it's not about being right. The market is always going to be right, whatever the market does. But you can still be right in your trade by cutting it. And
for sure,
you can still be right by not taking a trade at all, right? So
yeah, or the setup could be right, but it just fails. We've seen 10 and 2 fail when it looks great, and then the market has other decisions. There's a new player steps up, and we're like, what, this looks like a great place to short, right? Yep. And it ruins their idea, and that's going to happen. And it doesn't mean I'm not going to take that trade setup again.
Yep.
Because per our system, probability wise, that's an A+ setup for us. So sometimes A+ setup doesn't work out.
Yep.
But how do we, once we identify those problems, what do we do to, what do we do with those? Like journaling, right? If you're journaling daily, you're going to see a common theme. If you're being true to yourself and putting down your emotions, I was hesitating, I was fearful, I was trading P&L or whatever. Just look for the keywords that you're using regularly, and that's gonna shine a light on your problems, right?
Right.
Yeah, and for sure.
Dude, it's funny because you're like right, and we're talking about when I'm wrong or when I'm right.
Yeah.
Bro, have you seen the movie Get Rich or Die Trying? 50 Cent?
No, I haven't. No, is it good?
What? Yes. it's like this. I think it's better than 8 Mile personally, and viewers, you can comment whether you agree or not. But I think it's better than 8 Mile personally because it's got more like, he was like a gangster type of like drama to the movie versus just like Eminem's an up and coming rapper who went from throwing up on himself to like shutting this dude down, right? But there's a great quote that I always quote and just joke around about from Get Rich or Die Trying, right? Where it's not 50 Cent, it's another guy named Bama who he meets in prison. And he says, it's like when I'm right, I'm right. When I'm wrong, I could have been right. So I'm still right because I could have been wrong, And I'm sorry because I could be wrong right now. I could be wrong. But if I'm right. And like, so
it's so convoluted.
It's so like, what the hell did he just say, right? It's like, repeat that. Like
I know that I know that I know I know
I know, but I know yeah, exactly. So like, but sometimes it's like that way in trading because like if you see, like if you just like you're reading price action, it's not like a defined setup you've back tested, right? And you're thinking, well, I could be right here and go long, and it could be like this big trade. But if I'm wrong, it could be a loser. And it's like, if I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'm right. But like, what you can do is you can sit out, and then either way, you're right because you didn't lose any money, and you still learned what was going to happen, and maybe you could start studying that particular setup.
Yeah, and take that screenshot, put it in the journal.
Exactly, man. But like, that's the work. That's the number one thing, man. The work people don't want to do.
Yeah, 100%.
But continue. I'm sorry, I derailed you. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I love to hear your feedback anytime, man. But the next one is changing perspective. So, in my September like session in the House of Stacks, I did like a crash course for new traders, which I called I think I called it CPR for day traders.
Yeah, CPR. That was good.
Profitability, repeatability. I mean, realistically, you want consistency, repeatability, which leads to profitability. But I like CPR for the acronym's sake, right? And in that one, I had a quote from Tony Horton, who's the guy that started P90X fitness course, and he says, "Stop with the I can't mindset. Instead, say I currently struggle with. If you can eliminate the mindset that I can't do pull-ups, forget that. Say I presently struggle with. So it's like over the course of the time, anybody whose dream was to do 1 or 2 pull-ups or whatever push-ups, it's going to turn into 20 or more. So right now I can't pass a combine, or I currently struggle with passing a combine, or after that, once you start passing them, well, I can't get a payout. Well, I currently struggle with blowing when I get funded, right? But remember, consistency, repeatability lends to profitability. So, we got to stop being the victim, and we have to start working on what's going to lead to that consistency and repeatability. Yeah,
it makes sense.
That it's fun. It's a fundamental, right?
Is that, dude? Have you read Atomic Habits? Because I feel like that line's in Atomic Habits somewhere.
100%, I've read that, and I got a bullet point on that a little bit later too.
Okay,
I don't know if that was in. It could be. I'm sure there's a lot of great people that talk about the same types of things, right?
Yeah,
it very well could be.
And he did quote some people in that book. So, and I could just be mistaken, man. That was like one of like 20 books I read last year, and it's on my reading list again for this year. But yeah, I knew that, like, when you were saying that, I was thinking, where have I heard this before? Because I'm not familiar with that guy who started P90X, but P90X is legit. I will say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's only one thing in that program that is pretty meh, and it's like the stretch routine. But do it on like if you're going 7 days a week, save it for Sunday or whatever. Or if you're not feeling your top self today, and you still want to do something to put in the effort, rather than skipping a day, then that's a pretty low effort thing to at least keep the momentum going of your and your consistency to maintain your workout routine, right? Because as soon as we stop with our routine, and it's a lot easier to be like the next day, it's like maybe I'll skip today too.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, now you haven't been working out for like a month or two, right?
Yeah, a lot of like it is crazy though how many different things, and obviously I've spent the majority of my life in the gym. How many different things that apply very well to the gym and to the fitness and healthy lifestyle apply also to trading, right? Like routine, consistency,
sure.
The hard work, right? The discipline, all that stuff. They all apply to both. So in a weird way, sometimes I look back and think about that about myself and think, damn, all this time I spent in the gym was really preparing me for this, being traded.
Yeah. Yeah, and that leads me to the next step, which is baby steps. And so, if anybody's seen the movie What About Bob with Richard Dreyfuss and Bill Murray, Bill Murray's kind of a psychopath, and Richard Dreyfuss is a psychologist that wrote a book called Baby Steps.
Yeah.
And so like the premise is just doing one thing at a time. But personally, Joe, I know you're reading Trading in the Zone right now by Mark Douglas. And my favorite part of that whole book was near the end when he was talking about the concept of wanting to be a runner. And, if you just start out from the get-go and you're not athletic at all, and you just try to run a mile, A, you're probably not going to be able to do it, and B, you're going to give up the next day. So he presents it in a way where it's like, well, why don't you first just start by putting on your running shoes? And then maybe you don't actually go for a run or a jog or whatever, but at least you did like one incremental thing.
Yeah.
And putting on your shoes, that's, 1 minute's worth of effort, but it's just like one thing that you can do that's really easy. Anybody can do it, right? And so then the next thing is like, okay, well, then I'll just go to like the mailbox, and then the next day I'll go down the street, and after that around the block, So baby steps, incrementally, we're doing one thing, and we're progressively overloading, as you would in fitness, to get more reps or whatever, and then suddenly, without much effort, you have become a runner, right?
I hate running, Robbie.
Well, a trader, a lifter,
Yep.
Whatever it is, right? So, that how far into I know you're rereading it again, so like, how far into it are you?
Chapter 9, I think.
That means nothing to me. I'm on 120 in my other book right now, so you got to like that, like halfway through.
Hold on. I got notes. I don't have the book right here in front of me. It's all
right.
It's in the other room, but I have some notes on it, whatever. So chapter 9. No. Actually, sorry. It's chapter 10. So chapter 9 was about beliefs, and then chapter 10 is all about the impact of beliefs on trading. So I'm getting close to the end, because then you have chapter 11, and then it's over.
Oh, okay. So you probably just recently read about that, right?
Yeah. Yep.
The running thing. Okay. Right on.
I think that's I think that's actually in chapter 9. But I've read it like a few different times, so could be mistaken. But I remember the quote that you're talking about, and it does apply really well to trading too, because some of the best trading advice is like over the weekend, like just like clear your charts and chart out 100 different names, and like even somebody could be like, oh my god, 100? I don't even know 100 tickers, and it's like okay, well, how many charts did you review last weekend? 0. So like, if you did one, or let's just say you only did one last week, right? If you did 2, it's 100% increase. Okay. If you did 3, it's a 200% increase. If you did 10, you do 11, you do 15. It's always an increase. Like, you can just like do some more, and review your like, how many trades have you reviewed from last week? Maybe 1. Okay. How many did you take? 40.
Yeah.
Oh God. Like, it's, but that's the work, man. Like, that's consistently the thing that I encounter that people don't want to do. Like, they don't want to mark up their chart. They don't want to mark up entry, exit, trade thesis, and why or why not the trade didn't work out. Right. Like,
Yeah.
and then you end up just like, okay, well, I'm going to come back this week and, feeling hopeful, enthusiastic, or whatever. And it's like, Maple, how many times has Maple talked to us about, statistically, traders' worst days are Mondays and Fridays, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
Friday, they want to, maybe they didn't feel like they didn't make enough money going into the weekend and they want to have a banger Friday and the market doesn't give it to them. And then
Yeah.
Monday, they're overeager from all maybe the studying or maybe not, or just reviewing even in their head their last week and thinking, oh man, okay, I had a good week. I made 5K this week. I'll make 10K, or, I lost 5K last week. I'm going to get it all back. And then Monday comes in. It's like, big nothing. Right. So
Yeah.
you can't, that doesn't translate well, but like what does translate well is always putting in that work and reviewing your charts like over and over and over,
Yeah, for sure. Put in that work, guys, and journal it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's,
So then next step, we
yep.
got training your emotions.
Yeah.
And this is where Atomic Habits comes in a little bit. So there's a lot of like little things that you can do to like train yourself. If we're going to try to get dopamine off of winning a trade or making money in the stock market, we don't want to be rewarding bad behavior also, right?
Right.
So one instance of rewarding bad behavior is recognizing that you chased a trade and not cutting it immediately because you violated your rules, and then letting the trade work in your favor. And then you get the dopamine because the trade worked and you made money.
Mm-hmm.
Or similarly, you held below your risk and it still worked in your favor. So, you had something that was negative, and because it worked in your favor, you've rewarded yourself. So now it's easier, I think, for us to wire dopamine when you get something good versus like uh, associating negative things with like I shouldn't do it again.
Yeah, it's a lot like you've been dieting for a while, and then you have a cheat meal on a Friday, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're like, Saturday morning, I'm supposed to weigh myself. I'm not going to do it. But then you weigh, so then like you weigh yourself Sunday, and you might be like the same weight or down like half a pound, and you're like, oh shit, like it worked. Like I can have cheat meals every Friday. All of a sudden, and it's like, that's not how this works.
Yeah, exactly. So like so how do we train our emotions? Like, well, for instance, if you want to quit chewing your nails, maybe you put like pepper spray on your nails or some type of like nail polish type of thing. So if you chew it, then you get that, ugh, what the hell is this? That nasty reaction.
Uh-huh.
And so you're associating something disgusting with the habit that you're trying to break. And so eventually, if you're consistent with it, then you don't even want to do it, because the next time you even think about doing it, you'll be like, the last time I did that was gross, right?
Sure.
So, like, if you take a bad trade, well, what if you had a rubber band on your wrist and you slapped yourself?
Let's step that up a little bit. Why don't you get one of them dog collars and you give Joe the button?
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine like if you had like something wired up to Top Step?
Yeah.
that would like just jolt the crap out of you if you went below your stop loss, bro.
Oh, Jesus.
There'd be a lawsuit coming because Mr. Bagholder would be in the dirt.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah, he would be. He totally would be. Oh my God, That's hilarious. That's just hilarious.
Yeah, but like, so like, but so it's like, well, you can train yourself that way. Like those are some little things you could do. You could little slap on the wrist, something like that. But like,
I'm sorry. I'm still laughing about the concept of having a collar.
That would make a real, like, if we knew an animator, that would, and somebody that could like animate this clip,
yeah,
that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, I also want you to reward good behavior when something didn't work. But this is where it gets tricky. Like, so let's say you had a bad trade, but it's still, and it lost, but the fact that you followed your rules, that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want you to be scared to take that trade next time if it was still a good setup. So how do we build the bridge of giving yourself some dopamine when the trade worked? Well, maybe you give yourself a Sour Patch Kid because you followed your rules.
That's good.
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
But maybe it's got to be a little like more than that, because if just following your rules isn't enough, but maybe did you also put yourself on a timeout? So maybe the reward comes after you push the timeout button, rather than just the trade losing, because I could see potentially getting the dopamine from like the losing part of the trade, and then that kind of backfiring in a way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a tricky one.
Human psychology is a very tricky thing, bro. Like,
yeah,
everybody's gonna have their own thing that I think works for them. Like for some people, fat shaming works for them and it gets them to lose weight.
Yeah.
For some people, like me, I was bullied in school. I was skinny. I was 135 pounds. It got me in the gym, and then I found something I loved, and I just like to go to the gym, And of course now it's like the direct opposite. Like, I wouldn't bully anybody, but like people just like see me now and it's like instant respect, because like with going to the gym, it's one of those things that like it's earned, not given, right? Nobody bought it for me. No singular person could take it from me, right? They can't copy it from me. They can't steal it from me. Like, you got to go out and earn it for yourself. If you want to be in shape, it's all about earning it. Well,
I mean, I can sell you something that you can jab yourself with, maybe.
Oh, damn, Robbie. Oh, damn. Robbie's trying to get me sauced up. Then come back in 3 weeks and be like,
yeah. But I know what you mean. You put in the work, you own it, and people can recognize when they see somebody that's fit, and that, if they've been there for a while, that you've been putting in the reps.
Yeah. And a lot of trading is the same way. Like, in the traders that I speak with on a consistent basis, and I hear from them, KM, I got to shout you out, bro. Because like, you're like one of the people who comes top of mind. I feel like just giving out the initials, most people aren't going to know who he is, but he's going to know. Just like the conversations about discipline, the consistency you have, the way you look for your trade setups, the requirement of the number of confluences to take your trade, the consistent, like I've literally seen the data, and we've had conversations around his data about the profit targets and like the consistency of just like repeatedly hitting those base hits, and that's great. He just talks about like how much the trading has turned around since like I think August or October. I apologize if I got the timeline wrong. I mean, I apologize. There's a lot of traders that I do talk to, but it's great seeing that. It's just the consistency and the effort is there, and it pays off, and it's like really refreshing to see. And then like there's always other traders where I'm like, hey, what about this? Like, hey, did you review your trades? Hey, you're marking up charts. Hey, what's the statistics on your edge? Like, what, this, and it's like, they don't know, and it just ends up snowballing into things that, don't line up, like you end up trading combines one way in a rush to pass them, but then you trade your funded accounts a strict way. And like, there's a lot of traders that I talk to that this applies. It's like, well, why are we YOLOing eval trades? Like, what you're talking about with like the positive and negative feedback loops is like, you're stuck in this negative feedback loop of blowing your evaluation trades or evaluation accounts. And negative feedback loop, buy another one, $50 down, $50 down, $50 down. But you're consistently trading your one or two funded accounts, and you're taking great setups with those, consistently locking good profits, few $100s a day, and enough to at least secure payouts, plus, and then some. And if you just put your evaluation account on a copier, you would be able to have that scalability of, I went from one account to two, from two accounts to three, right? And from three accounts to four. And if you said, every time I get a payout, I'll take $449 and activate a new funded account, and then now I'm getting two payouts instead of one. Now I'm getting three payouts instead of two. That's a fantastic way of scaling up, because you're so consistent with your edge, but then like I don't know, it's almost like it's a little bit gambly, like let me see if I just throw 5 cons and Q right here if I can make $1,500 in a minute. Like
oh gosh, yeah.
It's
Like we talked about last week. The person that was struggling, with their funded account because they were only trading the good setups on the combine.
Mm-hmm.
And if they had just taken those trades in the funded account and then copy traded the combine, that would have been a phenomenal day for him. But it's just time to stop being afraid.
Dude, it's the hardest game. Journaling. It's the hardest game, right? Like Jesse Livermore said, only the game can teach you the game, right? And like,
bro, for all these steps that we're talking about, they're incrementally preparing your mind, but at some point, it's time for you to say, I'm not afraid anymore, and just take that trade.
For real, bro.
Yeah, and then the next step is accountability. You should have somebody that you're talking to, and I don't know if it was Atomic Habits, but he talked about like, and maybe it was a Ryan Holiday book, but it was something about paying a friend, like saying, "Hey, if I don't do this, I'm going to give you $200."
Mm-hmm. I actually, shoot, I don't know if I should. I don't want to upset anybody, but like, all right, I'm not. I'll leave out some details. There was one trader there's one trader I recently used this with, and this was after the last presidential election, I think. But I used it with another one like a year before that too. So there's at least 2 times I can remember it. 2 traders, both very strongly opinionated towards one political party. I said, hey, look, you need to make a set of rules and have an accountability partner and review all your trades, this, that, and the third. If you break any of those rules, you got to donate $100 to the other political party. And they were like, I could never agree to this. Like they wouldn't even consider it. And I was just like, you do realize though that if you just buckled down to like this plan, you would probably never actually make that payment but they couldn't even agree to it. And I was bummed because I was like, dude, I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's like a really, really good, like, thing to like. That particular scenario, donating to the other party, is like great, because if that reviles you so much that you wouldn't want to do that, then why don't you just do the right thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, if you feel like you don't have a friend to talk to and you're maybe kind of a lone wolf, then that's one way to go.
You could talk to me.
The other way is just to talk to somebody, right? Talk to us. We're here for you.
Yeah.
Leave a note in the comments. Hit us up on Discord, whatever, on X, right?
Yeah.
But have an accountability buddy, and like write down what you're thinking. Not just to the person, but for yourself. Like if you believe yourself to be a person of integrity, then before you take your trade, like talk out loud to yourself. Say, I will do this, I will do that. Like if price does this, I will do that. I won't fight the trend. I'll wait for confirmation. Like if in Atomic Habits, I think he calls it call outs, and I'd kind of been doing this for myself prior to hearing him like frame it in that way. But like that really helped me, because I believe I'm a person of integrity, and I'm not a liar. So if I say that I'm going to do something, you bet your ass I'm coming through for it. And I'll make mistakes, and maybe I'll be late, and maybe there's a reason where sometimes I can't. But like for the most part, 90% of the time, I'm there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You are. You definitely are. I would agree. And if you're late, it's not for no reason. You're not, just kicking back, playing video games, watching TV. You got something go on, but you will make up what's late. In due time. In due time, you will. Yeah, I agree, 100%.
Yeah. So like, when it comes to your trading, write it down, because like if it's just like something you think about, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
But when you write it down, or when you say it, like there's power to it, and it's like, then like you've spoken it out, you're thinking about it with more like specificity, and it's like it's just out there, rather than just like a thought.
For sure.
And that has gone a long way to helping me avoid taking bad trades. Like I used to, before I was trading the open, like I would only trade when I got to the office, and so like I would repeat to myself in the car, if we're outside the orbs, I will do this. If we're still within the orbs, then I will try to trade the range. Whatever it is, you come up with your own system or your own rules. Whatever you want to say, but follow through. And accountability is like, if you can't be accountable to yourself, that's another big problem too. But like, get a buddy to help you, because I want to like root for you. You can do it. Don't quit. Let's get it together, right?
Yeah, dude.
I don't want to see anybody failing.
Yeah.
And we joined the group. There's a lot of people in here. Not a lot of people chatting. Sometimes I think there could be some more people participating than currently are.
Oh yeah, dude.
And
it's disheartening to see that in a group of like 750 members, you get like to the chart review channel and it's like the same 4 or 5 people consistently, and then you get some other people pop in and out of there, and like, hey, I get it though, because I don't chart review and share all of my trades either. Like I'll usually, if it's like something, I made a mistake here, learn from it, like it's something like that. But most of the time, but I do it. Like I do it. I'm logging my notes. I'm using Obsidian. Can't wait till we get to that episode where we share more about that, because that thing is like blowing up like a mind virus or something, bro. It's crazy. But I'll do it. So maybe those people are doing it too. But then like, overall, you just kind of look and it's like, all right, well, like, you hear from the same people repeatedly struggling or whatever. But to that same point, I think Jason, I won't say which Jason, but Jason, you'll know I'm talking about you, Jason. I know that you saw some success about like writing your rules down and reading them prior to every trading session, so like having those triggers to set you up for success, right? And so there are many different applications for that. And whether it's in the fitness world, for a lot of people, especially struggling to lose weight, it's people waking up every day, I'm a healthy individual, like those positive affirmations, those go a long way, right? Because mindset changes everything. It does.
Yeah, actually, doesn't Mark Douglas say that too? Like, I'm a successful day trader. I'll extract money from the market. A couple of those things too. Yeah, I'd kind of forgotten about that actually.
Yep, he does. He does. I got him in the Grail diary right up on my shelf right here. I got him. I got it all written down. Yep, dude. It's like, I feel like we always end up kind of circling back towards the same sort of like topics and discussions on psychology and like putting in work and discipline and the effort, but like you don't have to take it from like me and you, right? Like look up, and maybe we can just link it, that I think it's pronounced Kulamagi, but Qualamagi.
Oh, right. I say Qualamagi, yeah.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, man. I want to hear him pronounce it. but he's got that great quote of like, just put in the work, right? Like but if you don't know his story too, there's a great little like cartoon style story that actually talks about like his trading style too. It's like 10 minutes. It's great. But, he blew up 4 times, and then on the 5th time he decided he was going to zoom out, start with day trading. And I think he ended up turning in like, in like maybe like a year, and I'm going to get these numbers all wrong, but he went from like a 10K account to like just shy of $1 million or something wild,
Wow. That's tremendous.
Yeah. And it's like, but then this dude's telling you put in the work, like, look at like, and that's the craziest thing with work and like an effort, is it's all relative, right? You could literally live with another trader, and you may think that you work harder than them, but maybe they're getting better results than you, and you start thinking, oh, it's luck, it's this, is that, whatever. But like, you don't know to the degree that they're putting and straining themselves and their effort, just like I don't know like what you're doing. Like me and you, Robbie, like we're both hardworking traders, but like I can't sit here and definitively say with empirical data I work harder than you, just like you can't say that about me. But we were both in agreement we were hardworking traders. So
for sure.
So like, but it's never like, it shouldn't be about a comparison thing. Like, look internally at yourself, and are you giving it your best effort? And if you're not giving it your best effort, then like, why are you upset with the results?
Because nobody else matters except for yourself with regards to trading. Like, you have to figure out what you're doing And it doesn't matter if you think somebody else is lucky or if somebody else is undeserving. It's irrelevant. It has no bearing on you.
Exactly, man. Well, shoot, dude, we went on for a while today. We had some good discussions.
Yeah, it was a great one. And guys, we'll put some links in the description for Trading in the Zone and some other stuff. We have an Amazon affiliate link, so if you haven't picked up that book yet, it's a great one to pick up.
Yes.
And usual things, guys. Like, subscribe, follow, share with friends. Let's bump that algo. We just recently broke 100 subs. We're pumped on that, and we're gonna keep coming back because we love doing this.
We're gonna do that giveaway, right, at 1,000?
Hell yeah!
Yeah, we're gonna give away a Top Step 50K.
Yep.
Oh yeah, so you got to get in on it.
Yeah, and the only way you're gonna do that is if you're liked and subscribed and following.
Bingo.
Notification bell. Actually, you can't track that, but at the very least, you got to be a subscriber, bro.
Yeah. Honestly, why wouldn't you want to be notified? Jesus.
Yeah, do you hate us?
Yeah. Be notified, okay? Damn, that's a new word. That's the word of the day.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you guys.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see you on the next one.
That's right, guys. Take it easy. See ya.
Later.